When planning a city break, Paris or Rome might first come to mind, rather than the Hungarian capital of Budapest. But those who visit this lesser-known capital will soon find it is one of Europe's best-kept secrets. This extraordinary city offers an unbounded wealth of art, history and architecture, from ancient churches and extravagant palaces to the magnificent 19th century edifices that line the shores of the Danube. The array of cultural delights here is just astounding. Not surprisingly, many parts of Budapest are now protected as World Heritage Sites, and after coping with centuries of unrest, this new status has been welcomed by the Hungarians who reside here. Still, you will find that remnants of a more turbulent time remain, and we will have the opportunity to delve into the city's difficult past, as well as enjoying the more pleasant locations within Budapest. Strolling down elegant boulevards, exploring tranquil parks, and even a visit to an island once the retreat of nuns and monks are all on our packed itinerary. You'll have the opportunity to see the biggest synagogue in Europe, some Turkish baths, and if there's time, even stop in one of the city's airy squares to enjoy some of the local cakes and pastries. There's certainly plenty to see in Budapest, and by the end of the tour, you'll be captivated by this enchanting capital city. Evidence of the first inhabitants of the region where Budapest now stands in the Carpathian Basin dates as far back as the Paleolithic era. Since then there have been many different settlers, from the Romans to the Goths, until the ancestors of modern Hungarians, the Magyars, arrived here in the 9th century. These tribes, led by Prince Arpad, migrated from the Urals in Russia and are believed to have settled here around 896 AD. The Arpad dynasty reigned for centuries, but it wasn't until the reign of Bela IV in the 13th century that the capital of the Hungarians was moved to Buda. And where better to begin our tour of the city of Budapest than the site where King Bela built his fortress on Castle Hill centuries ago. Today, the best route up to Buda from the plains of the Danube is the funicular railway, which has been operating here for over a century. No one knows exactly where Bela built his original fortress as protection from the invading Mongol armies, but nonetheless, once you reach the top of Castle Hill, the grand palace that now overlooks Budapest will give visitors a real taste of the city's ancient past. This glorious castle has evolved from a Gothic palace built by the Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund of Luxembourg. By the 15th century, this was, in fact, one of the greatest palaces in Europe. Sadly, constant attacks from one century to the next have taken their toll. Much of the older parts of the building no longer exist, But determined to keep their palace, the Hungarians have persisted in rebuilding Buda Castle each time its walls and roofs crumble beneath enemy attacks. After the most recent bombardment during the Second World War, the royal palace has now been restored to its former glory and is certainly an impressive sight. This sprawling complex now houses the Hungarian National Gallery, the Budapest Museum, and the Széchenyi National Library. But before stepping inside to absorb art and historical artifacts, there are some lovely features to explore around the palace exterior. On first arriving, it's difficult to miss the great ornamental gateway which dates back to 1903. But the most important element here is the great bronze sculpture of the mythical Turul bird. This statue, built by Gyula Donath, is one of the symbols of the city of Budapest and marks the millennium anniversary of the Magyar conquest in 896 AD. With outstretched wings, the Turul bird fiercely guards Buda Hill and can be seen on its plinth from all those gazing up at the palace from the river below. Walk around the complex and you'll find another interesting statue. Prince Eugene of Savoy, sitting proudly astride his horse, was carved into stone just a few years earlier than the Turul bird in 1900. The statue commemorates another glorious moment in the history of the city, as it marks the victory of Hungary at the Battle of Zenta in 1697. This was a turning point in the Turkish War after many years of conflict against the Ottoman Empire, which had seized the town of Buda and occupied Buda Castle in the 16th century. In fact, if you look closely, you can see bas reliefs with dramatic scenes from the battle, where the Hungarians finally gained the upper hand. Meanwhile, 2 Turkish prisoners cower beneath the jubilant prince's feet. Stepping inside the complex will lead visitors to the elegant Matthias fountain, where a Hungarian king contemplates the spoils of a stag hunt. King Matthias Corvinus made his mark on the royal palace in the 15th century, rebuilding it in an early Renaissance style. Although the grand reconstruction came to a sudden halt with the early death of the monarch, he has found pride of place here in the northwest courtyard of the palace. As well as commemorating the king, the fountain has a romantic story to tell, for legend has it that when the King Matthias went hunting on this occasion, he met a peasant girl who fell deeply in love with him. Ilonka is depicted here sheltering a fawn beneath the column on the right, while the king stands on the highest tier of this spectacular fountain, while water trickles amidst the rocks, hounds and hunters gathered below. With so many more sights to see around the castle, it is time to walk through the Lion Gate, which leads to the rear courtyard of the palace. On the outer side of the gate, visitors will notice that the lions seem tamed by the serene atmosphere that surrounds the museum, while within the lion's court they are menacing and fierce, always at their guard. Brave the lions, and if you have an eye for art, this is certainly the place to be. The Hungarian National Gallery boasts a range of stunning paintings, with the most valuable Hungarian artwork in the world held here. From medieval times to the 20th century, there's some breathtaking art to absorb, created by the country's most celebrated artists. As you wander from floor to floor, you'll find paintings by Mihaly Munkaski, Merce and Karoly Lotz, as well as some incredible sculptures dating back to the 16th century. Before you even enter the gallery, the statue of a horse herd taming a wild horse whets the appetite, preparing art lovers for the many delights to come. To the right of the National Gallery is the Budapest History Museum, which found its permanent home in the newly renovated Royal Palace in 1967. The exhibitions here chart the history of Budapest from its earliest beginnings right up to the modern age. But perhaps the most exciting thing about this museum is that within you can find some of the preserved structures of the old royal palace. Recreations of a tiny prison cell and a chapel can be found in the basement, while on the ground floor there's a reconstructed defensive wall, a keep and Gothic statues from the palace dating right back to the 14th century. If you still have a little energy after delving into the city's past, across the square, in yet another wing of the Royal Palace, you'll find the National Library. This has an extraordinary collection of books, including ancient manuscripts that originally belonged to King Matthias Corvinus himself. The library was first established at the beginning of the 19th century and has expanded so dramatically that there are now around 5 million items to peruse here. Transforming itself from fortress to a museum complex, the Royal Palace shelters some of the greatest treasures in Hungary. But now it's time to leave the safety of the castle walls and head north as we visit the old hill town of Buda. Buda grew up around the palace as wealthy German merchants set up shop to supply the courts of medieval kings. If you wander down the cobbled streets, you'll find some beautiful buildings here, once the homes of both merchants and aristocrats who decided to move as close as possible to the Hungarian seat of power, Lord Street. Today, amongst the elegant buildings, there are many charming shops and cafes where visitors can try out some of the best Hungarian cakes and pastries, from traditional strudels to creamy torts. Buda is certainly the perfect place to unwind, and here things are taken at a slower pace than the more lively part of the city across the river in Pest. The central point of the old town is Holy Trinity Square, which boasts a large Baroque town hall. Although the age of the Baroque was clearly a time of affluence within the city, at the centre of the square stands a reminder of more difficult times. The Baroque Holy Trinity column was built in memory of the many Hungarians who died during 2 outbreaks of the plague in 1691 and again in 1709. Richly decorated in beautiful statues of saints and angels, it was hoped this monument would not only serve as a reminder of those who had lost their lives, but protect the city from further outbreaks of the deadly disease. Overlooking the column is another ancient building, which has existed in Buda for as long as the original Buda castle. Matthias Church was founded by King Bela IV in 1255, and the beautifully decorated Bela Tower is in fact named after the medieval king. Remnants of the Gothic which can be seen in the architecture date back to the reign of Sigismund of Luxembourg, who also had a hand in constructing Buda Castle. The church was, however, dedicated to another monarch, and King Matthias Corvinus, who was so delightfully remembered in the Matthias Fountain, was given this honour rather than Sigismund. King Matthias enlarged and embellished the church to create a stunning religious building. He was in fact crowned here, like many other Hungarian monarchs in later years, including the very last king of Hungary, Charles IV, who was crowned here in 1916. As well as his coronation, Matthias celebrated both his weddings in the church, and if you look hard enough, you can see the coat of arms of the king, a raven holding a golden ring in its beak, which stands on the southern tower. The church hasn't always been a place of Christian worship, however. When the Turks occupied Buda and its castle in the 16th century, all the churches, including this one, were turned into mosques. The Turks occupied the city for years, until the Hungarians were joined by Christian armies, which helped them reclaim their land. As the Hungarians battled to liberate their city, an extraordinary event occurred in the church, which signalled the beginning of the end for the Ottoman invaders. Inside the church, in the Loreto Chapel, next to the main entrance, you'll find a Baroque replica of the miracle in question. According to legend, during the siege of Buda in 1686, one of the church walls collapsed under cannon fire, and suddenly a statue of the Virgin Mary, which had been hidden within, was revealed to the praying Muslims. The morale of the garrison collapsed, and the city fell swiftly to the Christian armies of the Holy League. The church was virtually destroyed during the battle, but was diligently restored with the splendour of the Baroque, and the interior is now quite magnificent. In the 19th century, more additions were made, and the beautiful stained glass windows on the south wall boast the work of some of Hungary's greatest artists of that time. Meanwhile, the architect Frigyes Schulich added some fine interior details, including the main altar. Schulich also began work on the exterior, adding embellishments such as the church's distinctive coloured roof tiles. Frigyes Schulich was a renowned architect in his day, and as well as his transformation of Matthias Church, he was also responsible for creating another of Buda's most loved locations, which lies just beyond the church. At the end of the 19th century, Schulich created terraces and corridors to connect the remaining parts of Buda's old defensive walls. This purely decorative structure occupies the site of a medieval square where fish was once sold, and has, fittingly, been named Fisherman's Bastion. Among the turrets, terraces and parapets, you'll note that this neo-Romanesque monument bastion has 7 towers. These represent the 7 tribes of Hungarians which settled down by the Danube in the Carpathian Basin in 896. The conical towers are an allusion to the tribal tents of the early Magyars. In front of the monument, you can see a bronze statue of one of Hungary's most important monarchs. Saint István, or Saint Stephen, was crowned at the turn of the millennium in 1001, and was in fact the first king of Hungary. Stephen I converted the pagan Magyar tribes to Christianity, and in doing so ensured they were accepted by their European neighbours. During his reign, a strong state was developed between the Western and Eastern European empires of the era, and as we further explore the city, we'll have the opportunity to see many more important monuments dedicated to this saintly monarch. As we turn back to the Fisherman's Bastion, you'll find that as well as being a lovely addition to the landscape around Buda, this is the perfect place to take in the views of Pest and the Danube below. Now, after enjoying so many of the sights around the lovely town of Buda, it's time to descend into the busier district of Pest, where some glorious attractions await. The city of Budapest arose from the unification of three different cities in the 19th century. Buda, Buda, and Pest were united in 1873, and this dramatic change in the history of the region led to much of the development around Pest. As the cities merged, many of the most important buildings in the area, and indeed the entire capital, were built, and one which stands out gloriously above all the rest is without doubt the spectacular Hungarian Parliament building. This was first created to represent the sovereignty of a new nation, and remains a symbol of democracy in a city which has endured much unrest over the centuries. Based on the Houses of Parliament in London, it was created by Imre Steindl between 1885 and 1902, and has been hailed a masterpiece of the neo-Gothic. Stretching 208 metres along the Danube embankment, it has been beautifully adorned with turrets and arches, and rows upon rows of beautiful stained glass windows decorate the main facade. An enormous gilded dome crowns the entire structure, and as you take in each and every element, you won't be surprised to find that this is in fact the largest building in Hungary. Travel across the river to the main entrance on the other side of the building, and you'll find Hungarian monarchs and military leaders are celebrated in the many statues which decorate the outer walls. Within, there is a labyrinth of rooms which are open to visitors when Parliament is not in session, and from the central hall, with its colossal pillars and decorated dome, to the stunning frescoes above the main staircase, there is plenty to see. There are a grand total of 691 rooms here, but try not to linger too long, as there are many more sights to explore in Pest. The Danube is graced by a number of impressive buildings on this side of the river, and if you travel south, you'll find a hotel with a difference. Gresham Palace is awash with the splendour of the Art Nouveau. Although it was built amidst great controversy by the London-based Gresham Life Assurance Company, it has now decidedly become part of the landscape of Pest. The curved roofline and ornately carved windows were designed in the style of the Vienna Secessionists, and when the building was completed at the beginning of the 20th century, it was occupied by the wealthiest of British aristocrats associated with the Gresham Company. At the top of the enormous facade, you'll find a bust of Sir Thomas Gresham himself. But during the Second World War, the aristocrats vanished and Soviet soldiers resided here. Later, during the People's Republic of Hungary, It was turned into an apartment block, and it wasn't until the 21st century that Gresham Palace was lovingly restored to its former glory and transformed into a luxurious hotel. Directly in front of the hotel, you can find the chain bridge, which connects Buda and Pest. Built between 1839 and 1849, it became the first permanent bridge in the Hungarian capital, and at the time of its completion, became one of the largest bridges in the world. Before then, people would cross by ferry, or in winter, travel by car to cross the frozen Danube. These methods of transport certainly had their disadvantages, and one winter, when the ice of the Danube started to flow so that neither ferry nor cart could be used to cross for a week, the wealthy Hungarian Count István Széchenyi declared he would build a permanent bridge. Designed by an Englishman, William Tierney Clark, two neoclassical pillars support the chains on which the bridge deck is suspended, giving the bridge its name. It extends for 380 metres, which was a major engineering feat at that time, and although Chain Bridge was destroyed during the Second World War, such a crucial structure was swiftly rebuilt and back in operation by 1949. The bridgeheads on both sides are guarded by two great stone lions, which were sculpted by János Marsalko. From below they appear to lack tongues, and for a time the sculptor was ridiculed for his failure to include this important detail. János, however, insisted that a lion's tongue is drawn back low when it holds its mouth open, and when he took his friends to a local menagerie, he was proved right. Whether you can see the tongues or not will require some careful examination, and there are many debates about what can be seen inside the mouths of these fearsome creatures. Below flows the great River Danube, which separated the two cities of Buda and Pest for so many centuries. If you look up the river, you'll notice that Chain Bridge has now been joined by many others, and including railway bridges, there are now a grand total of 9 which span the Budapest section of the Danube. Meanwhile, back on dry land, the Danube promenade is a wonderful place for a stroll along the river, and stretches between Chain Bridge and the next bridge down, the Elizabeth Bridge. From this side of the river, you can get some great views of another important hill in the history of Budapest. Gellert Hill is to the south of Castle Hill, and named after the bishop St. Gellert or St. Gerard. In the 11th century, the brother of the Christian King Stephen incited a heathen rebellion on the hill, and pagans threw the bishop into a barrel and rolled him from the top of the hill to his death. Gellert is now the patron saint of Budapest, and his statue towers over the city with an uplifted cross blessing all those who pass beneath. The turbulent past of the hillside is long forgotten, and now flowery parks and winding walkways make this the perfect location for a weekend outing. A trip to Gellert, however, requires a little time, and we have yet to see many more important locations around Budapest, which are much closer than the hill across the river. We've only just begun to touch on the attractions of Pest, and our next stop lies just a few streets away from the river's edge, behind Gresham Hotel. This important religious building, though more recent than Matthias Church, has become a much treasured place of worship within the Hungarian capital. The country's first Christian king did so much for Hungary that St. Stephen's Basilica is dedicated to this much revered monarch, and from the bust above the main door to the relics within, you'll find there are many references to St. Stephen. After initial construction began in 1851, it took almost half a century to complete, and with an array of architects working on it over the years, you'll find a combination of styles is displayed, from the neoclassical layout to its neo-Renaissance dome. By 1938, on the 900th anniversary of St. Stephen's death, the church was honoured with the title of Basilica Minor, and it is certainly worthy of such a name. The dome reaches a dizzying height of almost 100 metres and can be seen all over the city, while niches on its exterior reveal evangelists carved by the famed sculptor Leo Fetzler. Either side of the dome stand two bell towers, and the southern tower houses the biggest bell in the entire country. This 9-ton bell was presented to the Hungarians by the German Catholics who wanted to compensate for the original, which was looted by Nazis in 1944. Below, the colossal door is decorated with carvings of the heads of the 12 apostles. Their grave faces indicate that a solemn demeanour should be adopted by all who enter this very sacred place of worship. Indeed, to really appreciate the magnificence of this basilica, you have to venture inside. The dome interior is breathtaking and has been decorated with spectacular mosaics created by the great Hungarian artist Károly Lotz. An ethereal light seems to pour from the arched windows above, casting its glow into the otherwise gloomy church. As you walk along the nave, you'll see a statue of St. Stephen himself standing at the main altar. This has been beautifully carved in marble by Alajus Stroll, and within the basilica you'll find many other dedications to the king. One such image, the Patrone Hungariae altar, shows Stephen dedicating Hungary to the Virgin Mary. As the king was left without an heir, he offered the Virgin his kingdom, and she then became the country's patron. But there's more than just paintings and statues here to commemorate the Hungarian monarch. If you enter the chapel of the Holy Right Hand, you'll find an extraordinary relic and Hungary's most sacred treasure. The mummified Holy Right Hand of St. Stephen is kept here in an ornate golden reliquary. With this hand, the king offered the Virgin Mary his crown, and for this reason, the Hungarian Catholics guard it safely, only removing it from its chapel for a procession on St. Stephen's Day on August the 20th. As well as art and relics dedicated to St. Stephen, you'll also find that St. Gellert has found a place in the basilica. This statue of the saint and his pupil was also carved by Alajos Stroll and gives visitors the opportunity for a closer glimpse of the saint who lost his life on Gellert Hill. Back outside, the airy St. István's Square is the perfect place to pause and enjoy the views. Filled with cafes, restaurants and ice cream parlours, this area is usually bustling with people at the height of the tourist season. Whether you decide to indulge in a hearty Hungarian meal or have a quick coffee, you'll soon be refreshed and ready for the next stretch in our tour of the city. As you head south from the Basilica, you'll find that we're very close to the southern end of Andrassy Avenue. This iconic boulevard was built to connect the inner parts of the city with City Park, which we'll have the opportunity to visit a little later on. Lined with spectacular mansions and notable buildings in the city, this elegant avenue was recognised as a World Heritage Site in 2002. But as well as featuring many important architectural treasures, it is also one of Budapest's main shopping streets. And for those who want to gather a few souvenirs or invest in a few luxury items, this is the place to go. This was where the wealthy of Budapest used to stroll, from aristocrats and landowners to bankers. The cream of the city all lived here. If you can resist the allure of the many shops and boutiques, there are plenty of interesting museums and locations to explore along this grand avenue. Not long into our walk along Andrassy Avenue, you'll find the State Opera House. This grand building opened in September 1884 and rivaled those of Paris and Vienna. The stunning architecture was the work of Miklos Yibel, who designed the dome of St. Stephen's Cathedral. Miklos was one of the most prominent architects of the 19th century, and his neo-Renaissance designs would have a great influence on the development of this part of the city. Inside, you'll find lavish decorations with marble columns, chandeliers and magnificent murals. But don't linger too long, as there are many more locations along the avenue to be explored. Continuing the theme of music as we journey along Andrassy Avenue, we'll soon come to the Franz Liszt Memorial Museum. This was once the Academy of Music, which was founded by the great Hungarian composer Franz Liszt, and where the pianist used to teach. Above the window of the second floor are bas-reliefs depicting famous composers, hinting at the building's connection with the world of music. Among them, J.S. Bach, Mozart, Haydn, Erkel, Beethoven, and of course, Liszt himself. But this building was more than just an academy. It was where the composer lived in the last few years of his life. Liszt was born in Hungary in 1812 and was regarded by many as one of the greatest pianists of all time. His genius extended far beyond his keyboard skills, and during the 19th century, Liszt composed an array of operatas, piano concertos, symphonies and orchestral poems, developing a unique style, which would inspire many for years to come. In 1986, 100 years after Liszt's death, this museum was established in his home, and it is now filled with memorabilia from his life. From furniture and personal belongings, to books and scores, and the very pianos on which he composed and practiced his beautiful melodies, the exhibits are truly intriguing. There are plenty of other museums and buildings of significance along Andrassy Avenue. Not far from the Franz Liszt Museum is an edifice dedicated to a rather less savoury part of Budapest's past. The House of Terror Museum was once the headquarters of the secret police of both the Nazi and the communist governments. Hungary was allied with Austria and Germany during the Second World War, but paid a price for its loyalties to the fascist regime. As the European conflict came to a close in 1945, post-war agreements placed Hungary in Soviet-controlled Europe, and with Stalin in power, no opposition to the communist regime would be tolerated. For years, Stalinist terror prevailed, and this House of Terror is not just a museum, but a memorial to the many people killed during the years of communist rule. Eventually, as communism lost its influence, by 1989, Hungary was proclaimed a republic once more. The same year, many of those who had died during the communist regime were commemorated in one of the city's most important squares, and you'll find this right at the end of Andrassy Avenue, at the edge of the city park. Here in the Grand Heroes Square in 1989, thousands gathered to remember Imre Nagy, the Hungarian Prime Minister, and others who had led the 1956 uprising against the regime. At the front of the Great Millennium Monument, which dominates the square, you'll find a large stone cenotaph engraved with the words, "To the memory of the heroes who gave their lives for the freedom of our people and our national independence." The towering Millennium Monument itself was designed by Georgi Zala and Albert Schickedanz to commemorate the Millennium celebrations in 1896. Although the monument was not complete until decades later, by the time it was unveiled in 1929, it was certainly an impressive sight. At its centre, a Corinthian column towers, supporting the Archangel Gabriel with the crown of St. Stephen in one hand and the Apostolistic Cross in the other. Beneath, at the base of the column, you can see statues of Prince Arpad and the conquering Magyar warriors who founded Hungary in the 9th century. More recent warriors are commemorated within the iron railings with the burial place of the unknown soldier. Two curved colonnades embrace the column, each displaying 7 statues of great Hungarian leaders, from politicians to monarchs. During the years of communist rule, this was covered in red fabric, but today the heroes of Hungary's past are clearly displayed for all to see. Among them, you can find statues of Bela IV and Matthias Corvinus, as well as more recent leaders. The square is flanked by 2 museums, which, if you have the time, have some incredible artwork to enjoy. The Museum of Fine Arts is filled with works from antiquity to the 20th century. Among the highlights are paintings by some of the world's greatest artists, from Raphael and Goya to Picasso and Cézanne. Meanwhile, on the other side of the square, the Muszksanok Art Gallery, with its 6-columned portico, displays more contemporary paintings and sculptures, and is the country's largest exhibition space. If you prefer to stay out in the open air, however, you'll find there's plenty more to see in and around City Park. Behind the Millennial Monument, another Hungarian castle can be glimpsed. This fairy tale building, which you can see peeping out from amongst the trees of City Park, is called Vajdahunyad Castle, and like the Millennium Monument, was built for the Millennium celebrations at the end of the 19th century. You'll find this is quite an extraordinary place to explore, as the building is an eclectic mix of architectural styles which reflect the evolution of Hungarian architecture over the centuries. As you follow the line of pavilions at the edge of the lake, you'll find a chronological order to the architecture here. Romanesque is followed by Gothic. Then comes the Renaissance, which is followed by the Baroque. The entire complex reflects more than 20 of Hungary's most renowned buildings, with the medieval period being given the greatest emphasis, as this was considered to be the most glorious time in the nation's history. The castle now houses the Museum of Agriculture within its Baroque section, but most visitors simply come to absorb the incredible display of structures from the outside. Nearby, you'll find the Statue of the Anonymous, which is one of Budapest's most famous monuments. The figure represented is the chronicler to King Bela, who is thought to have written the first book on Hungarian history, which chronicled the adventures of the early Magyars. This mysterious monk was sculpted by Miklos Ligeti in 1903, and touching his stylus is thought to bring students good luck with their studies. There are many other statues within the park, and as you wander along the paths here, you'll find this is a welcome retreat from the hustle and bustle of the city centre. And if you are in need of some real relaxation, venture deeper within, and you'll find the perfect antidote to tired feet after pacing the streets of Budapest. The Széchenyi Baths is the largest complex of spa baths in Europe. Its hot springs, rich in minerals, are considered to have healing properties and bubble up from nearly a kilometre below ground. The spa is housed in a neo-Baroque building and was constructed between 1909 and 1913 and is now a popular place for those who want to unwind and treat their aching joints. At the main entrance, you can see a statue of the geologist who first discovered the hot spring. These are the hottest and deepest baths in Budapest, and the water reaches a sweltering 75 degrees Celsius at its surface, which ensures it's filled with visitors even in the coldest winter months. There are many baths all around the city, but this tradition of soaking up the magical properties of hot springs was not always part of Hungarian culture. It was only under Turkish influence during the reign of the Ottoman Empire that thermal baths gained popularity, but now the custom has been fully embraced by the citizens of Budapest. You could probably spend an entire day visiting the attractions here in City Park, but it is now time to return to the heart of Pest, where we have a little more architecture to absorb. Our next location will really take your breath away, as the Dohány Street Synagogue is not only the most impressive synagogue in Hungary, but the largest synagogue in Europe and the second largest in the world. Using the influences of Moorish architecture, this masterpiece was created by the Viennese architect Ludwig Forster, who drew inspiration from the buildings of North Africa and medieval Spain. It was consecrated in 1859 and can seat up to 3,000 people. The facade, which is made up of white and red brick, boasts a large rose window, beneath which a Hebrew inscription from the second book of Moses can be found. Onion domes crown the towers above, and if you walk round the entire building, you'll really appreciate how vast this place of worship really is. In the rear courtyard of the synagogue, you can find a Jewish memorial. At least 400,000 Hungarian Jews died at the hand of the Nazis. The memorial, made by Imre Varga, resembles a weeping willow, its leaves bearing inscriptions with the names of Holocaust victims. This was dedicated to the city by Tony Curtis, who was of Hungarian descent. Dohány Street itself is filled with memories of a darker time within the city, as it constituted the border of the Budapest ghetto. Although Budapest has not forgotten these sadder times from its past, back in the 21st century, the Hungarian capital now buzzes with energy, and as we head back to the river, we'll come to one of the city's liveliest areas. Váci Utka has been a popular meeting place for Hungarians since the 19th century. And if you want to catch up with friends in one of the many cafes here, or enjoy an evening stroll, this is the place to go. Wander into old courtyards a little off the beaten track and you'll find some of the best cuisine in the city. And if you haven't already bought your souvenirs to take home, there are plenty of shops dedicated to the tourist trade. Vatsiutka was highly fashionable in the early 20th century, and you'll still find that there are plenty of exclusive boutiques here. The clothes are stunning, but be prepared for some hefty price tags. You may find it safer to browse the bookshelves of some of the fascinating bookshops here. As our journey through Budapest is nearing a close, what better way to end our tour than a trip down the Danube as we head for the lovely Margaret Island. Before bridges spanned the river, this island was completely cut off from the mainland, and in the Middle Ages was a royal hunting reserve called the Island of Rabbits. In the 13th century, King Bela IV vowed that if Hungary was liberated from Mongols, he would dedicate his daughter to religion. True to his word, as Hungary was freed from the grip of the invaders, he founded a nunnery here. His 11-year-old daughter, Princess Margaret, was sent to the convent and gave the island its new name. The island is now a haven for all who want to escape the city, and is as popular as Gellert Hill for weekend trips. If you approach from the southern end of the island, the first landmark you'll encounter is the Centenary Monument. This rather unusual giant structure was erected in 1973 to commemorate the centenary of the joining of Buda, Buda and Pest as Budapest. These two giant spirals display an array of items from the capital's past, and you'll need to get right underneath to see all the cogs and plaques on exhibition. Walk further inland and you'll find the remains of a 14th century Franciscan friary. The buildings were destroyed during the Ottoman rule in the 16th century. But perhaps the most important location on the island is what remains of the convent founded by King Bela. Here, a marble plaque marks the site of the medieval princess's burial place in the ruins of the church's nave. Princess Margaret, after leading a saintly life here, died at the age of 29. When the Turks invaded nearly 300 years later, the nuns fled to Slovakia, leaving their precious convent to be destroyed. There's much to explore here on the island, and from an Art Nouveau water tower, now used as an exhibition space, to an Olympic pool complex and paths winding through some enchanting gardens, you could easily spend an entire weekend here. Sadly, as we take in our last views of the Danube from Margaret Island, our tour of the Hungarian capital is coming to a close. There can be little doubt that this city offers as much, if not more, than any of the other great capitals of the world. With an array of museums, ancient buildings, and breathtaking monuments, as well as some stunning parks and gardens, there's something for everyone to enjoy here. Wherever you turn, there are World Heritage sites to be found, and whether you want to absorb artwork and historical artifacts, shop in one of the elegant streets or boulevards, or simply take in the extraordinary views, you'll be so enchanted by this capital you'll want to return again and again.